Hello, listeners. Been wondering how you can help the show? Probably not. But here are 5 things you can do. 1. Subscribe. Support the show by clicking the subscription link in the show notes. 2. Review on iTunes, on our website, www.afraidofnothingpodcast.com, or on whatever app you listen to. 3. Donate. When you go to our website, click the cute coffee cup icon. Or in the show notes, click the subscription link. 4. Share. Sharing really is caring. Tell your friends and even your enemies to check out the show. 5. Watch. Wait a minute, it's a podcast, not a movie. Actually, it's both. Check the show notes to find out where to watch the documentary. You can also rent it on Prime Video. That's it. Oh, one last thing. Enjoy this episode. If there was a Paranormal Investigator Hall of Fame, tonight's guest would be an inductee. If you're a fan of the paranormal, you've watched Ghost Adventures and Paranormal Lockdown, which means you've seen Nick Groff, one of the pioneers of ghost reality TV. Before we get to that, a few weeks ago I joined a group of paranormal enthusiasts to do some investigating myself at the Murdoch Whitney House, which you may recall from my interview with Don O'Neill in episode 10. Don is the president of the Winchendon History and Cultural Center. I was invited to investigate the Whitney House and the Isaac Morse House across the street by a great empathic group that included Marion Luwama, Mimi and Ken Watson. You've heard those names from episodes on the S.K. Pierce House. Brad Ekstrom of the Haunted Lair and his wife Kaylin, and Eric and Megan Moyen, their daughters Emily and Eve, and the girl's friend Cassidy. Don O'Neill also joined us. What did we get? Well, in the piano room at the Whitney House, the REM pod kept going off for several minutes, with no one near it. Also, Brad Ekstrom got this EVP saying my name. And Marion Luwama hit the jackpot with these EVPs.
Eve just joined us.
Flynn.
I'm hearing her voice.
No,
Yeah,
something was literally just playing with the latch.
Yeah, I saw that too. I mean, I heard it, I didn't see it.
Is somebody playing with the latch on the bathroom door? We can hear you.
Was that you?
No.
So if you're scoring at home, you probably heard a growling, the word friend after Emily entered the room, the word mine, and then a scream. Kudos to Marion Luwama. Great EVPs. As for me, I accidentally erased the recording I did of an EVP session. So perhaps I should stick to podcasts.
In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey. Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
Nick Groff is an American paranormal investigator, musician, and television personality. In 2004, Nick teamed up with Zach Baggins and Aaron Goodwin to produce a documentary-style series called Ghost Adventures. He was a co-investigator, executive producer, editor, and cameraman on Ghost Adventures from seasons 1 through 10. Nick has since produced his own series, Ghost Stalkers, Paranormal Lockdown, Ghosts of Shepherdstown, and a new series, Death Walker. Nick is one of the founders of VidiSpace, an online network co-founded with Elizabeth Saint and Justin Narrigan, offering both subscription and a la carte options to their superior paranormal program slate. Okay, we're here with Nick Groff. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining us on Amazon Prime Day.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm excited. A lot going on this month.
You're so busy, you probably haven't had time to buy anything online today, have you?
I haven't. Actually, I was going to different haunted locations in Massachusetts doing some more filming. So I just been nonstop and editing a ton.
Yeah.
I have a lot going on. Yeah.
Usually October is a crazy time of year. It's different this year, but you probably have more going on than ever. And we're going to touch on some of that stuff. I mean, let's start off first with your Death Walker series that's kicking off on VidiSpace on, is it October 30th or what day does that start?
It's going to be launching. The whole series comes out on Halloween Day, October 31st. So I'm really excited about it. It's a next step up from everything that I've done. It's out of the box thinking, talking about different theories. And the idea is to create conversations within the paranormal. And I feel like that's what paranormal is kind of missing, a little bit of just having these ideas and then putting them to the test and trying to compare two locations to validate some of these theories that we're basing things off of in the unknown. And really, I love it because it's taught me to sit back for a second and really just have some of these organic conversations with different people that might have some theories about time or space, or maybe the idea that what we're actually dealing with isn't necessarily just a ghost, what we've been defining things as so heavily and putting things in boxes. And I feel like that's what the paranormal needs to do, is just push forward and think outside the box and keep evolving as human beings.
Yeah, that's right. I just had Brandon Alvis from Ghost Hunters on the show before this, and he was all about the science of it, not just gathering evidence, but having it validated. And when I did the documentary Afraid of Nothing, I mean, I had part of that was having some scientists on where there's kind of a connect between quantum mechanics and the paranormal now. There's some connections that people are finding kind of surprising. It's not just about ghosts. It's science and paranormal may have a connection when this thing is all said and done.
Yeah, and you did an amazing job on the doc, by the way. I loved Afraid of Nothing. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, it dives a little bit into everything. But that's what the paranormal is. It's everything. I feel like we're kind of stuck in this mentality of the cryptid is over here, the UFOlogy is over here, ghosts and all that stuff is over here, but everything is kind of together, I feel. And I feel like we're going back to that and exploring all of it because it's energetically connected in some weird way.
Yeah, definitely. Deathwalker, is this you alone, or do you have a sidekick in this, or how is it? I think it's 5 episodes, right? So 2 locations, you're at 10 locations to start anyways.
Yeah, 10 locations. We combine those 5 1 hours, and we're just excited to explore all these different ideas and theories and paranormal claims. And it's just myself going through with my cousin Justin, who's following me with a camera, and that's what it is. It's cinematically beautifully structured with this great narrative story, and we're just pulling back the layers into different haunted locations to dig a little bit deeper into the idea of what exactly is haunting these places. Yeah, I love the raw element of it too. I think that's what I've been missing for so long, is back to the roots, back to some of the audio technology and comparing different places together. And it's really about the stories too. I think we forget that everything originates from a story, and from those stories, it ripples outwards.
One of your old friends, you may recall Jeff Belanger from Ghost Adventures, the researcher. He actually was on the show. He's actually going to be giving a talk for my company, too. He's doing a virtual talk for us on Halloween because we figure kids can't go for Halloween. We're going to get Jeff on to do one of his talks. But he always said history is a ghost, which is true. You look at it, and really it's not just entities that you're dealing with. There's stories. Each one is a story, and they're trying to get your attention and to tell it. Is that what you're finding on your new series?
Yeah, I mean, like some of these people that were once living didn't have voices, and maybe that's all it is sometimes, is they want to be heard or they want to tell their story. But it's just like anything. Everybody has a story to tell, and I think some of them get lost with the locations or lost as individuals, in unmarked graves or forgotten about. And it's kind of like the topic of, the dead are never forgotten until we forget about them. And I think that's a lot of the storytelling that goes into it. For example, we go to a location called Brushy Mountain Prison, and we compare Madison Seminary together. And it's really interesting. We were in the solitary confinement of Brushy Mountain Prison, and what I thought I was communicating, which 10 years ago, I probably thought it was like a ghost or someone died here and it's Joe Smith who was here and locked up. And here's the fact on that person who died here. But if you think about it, what happens if we're dealing with this bend in time where we're there in the reality of the present time and I'm communicating and we can have this technology that we can hear intelligent responses and we're deciphering these words coming through and we're saying, okay, is this something or somebody manipulating this technology to communicate with us from the other side? And if that's true, then what happens if we're not just talking to a ghost? What happens if we're talking to somebody from the 1800s that's actually alive right now in the 1800s, put in solitary confinement, locked down there for months, losing all of its vulnerability to all the senses that we're used to and able to tap into that extra sense? That person can hear us, we can hear them through the technology, and that's how we're talking to one another. I don't know, it's just strange when you start to kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit and dive into different theories and ideas.
Yeah, I'm with you, though, because I've heard people talk about on the documentary and on these episodes, you know, our existence is kind of like a vinyl record. It's just where you drop the needle and what you're hearing and what you're experiencing, but it's all there together in one location. So it's crazy. These locations that you've gone to, are they new ones for you, or are they kind of a mixture of some familiar haunts that you went back to visit and some new ones as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're already talking about making more in, just with the success so far of everything going on. But I think the idea is I want to go back to some locations that I've investigated for over a decade, places like Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky, and the Washoe Club in Virginia City, Nevada. And it's just like an interesting part of my life where it's not just going back and being redundant, but it's going back and learning new things, evolving as a human being, picking up the pieces where I left off and trying to like collectively come together to find new evidence or document new findings. So some of the locations you've seen probably before, some people probably haven't, but some of the locations are new that I've never been to, like the Octagon Hall in Kentucky there. It's amazing location. It has so much paranormal accounts and history and UFO encounters. And we actually experienced when we were standing out there, my cousin, Justin, myself, and this other guy that we were talking to, and he's been coming there for 7 years, and we were standing there and all this sudden this huge sphere, which looked like a small UFO spaceship that was transparent, just bleeps into the atmosphere right above the building, is hovering there. You could see the hawks flying below it and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden we're looking at each other going, do you see what we're seeing? And we had a drone on the ground. I'm like, get the drone up there, aim the camera towards that thing, and we're trying to do that. And I swear it hurt us because instantly it just moves sideways down and it goes woof, takes off and just flies away. And it was insane. We all knew what we saw and stuff like that. When you least expect it, or you're kind of going on the journey. And, for 11 days, Justin and myself were just on the road in our little rental car going up to all these haunted locations. It was amazing. Amazing.
Now, is he Justin Nerrigan, one of your co-founders of VidiSpace, or is this a different?
Yep.
He is. Okay, cool. Let's talk about VidiSpace real quickly, then we'll go to the other stuff. So VidiSpace was co-founded by you, Elizabeth Saint from Ghost of Shepherdstown, and Justin. You want to talk about how you guys came up with that idea?
For a long time, I've obviously came from the background of filmmaking and making my documentary back in, I started 2004, 2005, Ghost Adventures, and I created that. And that became something I never thought it would, a phenomenon. And basically 10 episodes later, Justin and I went on to do Paranormal Lockdown, Ghost Stalkers. I did Ghost of Shepherdstown. And I was just at a point where it's weird. It's like I've always been driven on passion in the projects first. And if everything else hits second, great. You know what I mean? But I'm in the belief of if I'm not happy and I'm not passionate with what I'm doing, then what's the point? Because everything becomes redundant. And it doesn't matter how much money in the world you could pay me. I'd rather be happy than not. I'm not about materialistic things. I'm about putting a crazy impact on this world in an interesting way. So when I'm gone someday and my kids come behind me and so on and so forth, that's the ripple effect I leave behind. So we were at a point of just sick and tired of pitching just different ideas and concepts when we knew they were good, going out and wasting so much time and effort on sizzle reels to present those, to turn those into something. Like, it took me a long time to get Paranormal Lockdown off the ground. It just didn't happen overnight. It took me a long time to get Ghost Adventures off the ground. That didn't happen overnight. And it's like all these things are very difficult. And I get it. Like some of them are driven on like corporate industries and stuff like that. And everyone wants to have their voice on that. And everyone wants to have a job because of that. But I mean, come on, like there's stuff I know what we're good at and I know what we present and bring. I think we were just done with that. And we wanted to create a streaming platform where it's for the independent artists, people that don't have that opportunity, don't have that next step. So we can stream it out to the world, to different territories throughout the world with countries and stuff that just don't get the access to that. And, you know, the internet's a big thing. I think streaming is the future of everything. Kind of like when tapes were, when CDs came along and then the internet came along, you know, it's the same scenario that's happening. It's just a matter of time.
Just ask Disney, right? It was not announced about Disney that they...
Right, exactly.
So definitely you're ahead of it. Well, I would tell you as an independent filmmaker, I made a drama before and I dealt with a distributor and didn't have a great experience. Jeff Belanger actually introduced me via email to you and Elizabeth. And what excited me was your passion, the platform, in that it was all paranormal. And I love some of the program you had it on it. Small Town Monsters, I think, is a production company that has a lot of great documentaries as well. And I was really drawn to it. I was glad I could find a place for my documentary. And I really encourage anybody listening who's looking for that one sweet spot. For horror, it's like Shudder, right? Like on Amazon Prime. But if you're looking for a paranormal, I think that's kind of unique and fresh and diverse and evolving like you are as a paranormal investigator, VidiSpace is the place to go.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really turned into something special. Obviously, Elizabeth has worked hard with putting the nuts and bolts together and really driving all that force behind VidiSpace. I just love bringing people together and collabing on different projects, and it's really turned out to be something great, and it's growing rapidly now, and we're excited. Now Deathwalker is coming out, and I'm excited about that. We have the Conjuring, where it's the Seance Revisited live that's happening at the Conjuring House there, coming out on October 30th and the 31st. So we're just excited about all the stuff coming out. And we did this really cool thing too. Elizabeth directed and produced Shocktober, which is at a real haunted location, but they transformed it into a haunted house experience and filmed it. And pretty much I was one of the guests, myself and Nikki Blonsky. We walked through and you get to see us kind of go through this interesting storyline. So it's cool. We have a lot of stuff that is hitting right now. And I think that's what it's about, driving really interesting, unique content for everybody worldwide who can access it and do it for half the budget. That's what's crazy.
Shocktober is for a good cause too. Wasn't it something that can you talk about the good cause that Shocktober is for?
Yeah, the great individuals, great foundation, charity for disability. And I love what they're doing there. They're just really nice people. And just everybody there was wonderful to work with. It's my second time there. And I love everything that's happening there.
And so, Nick, can you remind me again, what do all the proceeds benefit for Shocktober?
Yeah, so it's a great foundation, you know, is for people that have disabilities. All the proceeds benefit the Ark of Loudoun. And it's a great foundation founded in 1967. And the Ark of Loudoun advocate for educates and they support people with disabilities. So I loved being a part of it. It's my second time at the location. I had a wonderful time talking with everyone, and I love seeing everyone like dressed up in their outfits, and it was just wild. It was a wild experience. I actually love haunted houses. You know, a lot of people think just because I'm traveling, going to like real haunted locations and living there or exploring them. I actually love Halloween. I love October. It's my favorite time of the year, and I really like going on like a haunted hayride where people are jumping out, or like a haunted house where, I don't know, crazy stuff has happened. I get thrilled by it, and it's so much fun. And it takes a lot to scare me. That's the thing, is they were all putting bets before I went in. I guess like somebody told me, before you go in, they're all betting who can scare you.
Yeah.
So it was a good time.
Well, that all sounds great about VidiSpace, Nick. Is there like a special discount code for October that you can offer our listeners?
There is, just for this month alone. If you go and sign up right now on VidiSpace, 14-day free trial, cancel anytime, use coupon code Feartober. That's all capital, FEARTOBER, all capital words, Feartober, for 50% off your first 12-month subscription.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's a huge discount.
That's great, especially with all the stuff you have going. Let's transition into we've talked about Deathwalker. We've talked about Shocktober. Let's talk about the Conjuring House. Let's talk about that event that's coming up.
I'm so excited. It's a Seance Revisited at the farm on Round Top Road. It's the house that inspired the Conjuring film. And it's so interesting. So we're going live October 30th. And what's cool about it, it's the same night that Ed and Lorraine Warren did their seance back in 1973.
Wow.
And in 1973, that would be 47 years later. Here we are doing the same seance in the same room on the same night it's the same exact moon too. And it's one of the most terrifying seances that they've ever done. So I have some great people coming in. I have Megan, who is unbelievable with what she does and her abilities. And she's going to be doing a ritual, open up the doorways to the spirit world. We're going to be building towards this seance, investigating with my good friends like Dan Class, the Kirklands. I got Corey and Jen, who are the owners of the location. We'll be talking with them. And also, I'm really excited because we have Larry and Deb coming in too. And they're amazing. I don't know if you know Larry and Deb Elward, but they're incredible, and we'll have them there as guests too. And also John and Joe will be helping out. And my good friend Josh from Exploring with Josh, he has a great YouTube channel.
Yeah, he does. And John is John Huntington, right? He's the EVP guy. He's really good. Yeah, he's living there.
Yeah, I mean, he's living there. He knows everything about it, and he knows the ins and outs. So he's a great asset to have at our side. We have an unbelievable team put together, and my cousin Justin will be running the camera. And we have a ton of static cameras mounted throughout the whole location. You can get tickets right now. It's only $5. So October 29th, we're going live, and 24/7 access to the live feed from October 29th all the way to midnight. That would be leading into November 1st, so which is Halloween night. You will see the live feed. So on October 30th, that's when we come in from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see us live wherever you are in the world. You'll be able to stream this. You can put it on your TV. You can cast it to your TV, your iPhones, your Androids. If you have Roku, download the VideoSpace app, put it on your TV or Amazon Fire TV. I mean, pretty much you can get it anywhere. And we're just excited to get this out to the world and really come together as a team and collectively try to gather new evidence. And what's crazy is over the weekend, I've been filming there at the Conjuring house, and we discovered something new. And there's been stories about soldiers being buried in the walls or in the backyard, and just the mystery. You know, there's so much mystery and legends, just folklore revolving around this location. So we're excited because I brought in my good friend, Bob. He's really great at ground penetrating radar. He's the bone finder, and he's just awesome. So we came in, we started scanning the property, and we have some interesting things that we discovered. So stay tuned. Promo is dropping, so you can kind of get a taste of what's to come.
Hello, listeners. I want to play a game. But first, a disturbing interruption to our podcast.
Whoa, you must be the new roommate. What's your name?
Annabelle.
Hi, Annabelle. What are you doing on my Allswell mattress?
I need to possess it.
Yeah, hey, look, I get it. Allswell mattresses are the best. Its hybrid mattress technology gives you the comfort of memory foam with the support of individually wrapped coils, all at a really great price.
Allswell.
Yeah, you got it. You can even try it for 100 nights, risk-free. And if you're not satisfied with the sleep that you're getting, simply ship it back. Plus, every Allswell mattress comes with a 10-year limited warranty. So if you ever have any problems, you don't have to worry about being stuck in bed hell. There's only one problem. You need to get your own. Oh, and you get free shipping on your first Allswell mattress simply by following the link in the show notes. It helps support the podcast.
Never be afraid of a good night's sleep.
All's well.
And now, back to our horrific program.
Yeah, that's a super sweet deal, $5. And if you're going to watch any night, it would be Friday, October 30th. I think there's a 3-hour live stream event where you're doing an investigation and the seance. And we all know, as you just mentioned, that first seance didn't end very well. So hopefully this one is a little more peaceful.
Hopefully we can get some answers. I think it's all about communicating with the entity or whatever is there. I don't know. I think it's more, it kind of reminds me a lot like the Hinsdale house. It's more towards the land. It's more ancient. It's something, you know.
Yes. I was just going to say that. I don't think
it's a specific ghost or something like that. I think it's an entity that has evolved over time. And I think it's some sort of energetic form that kind of mirrors the image of whatever is based on your intent you're putting out into that environment. So if you're scared, if you want fear, that's what it's kind of kicking back at you.
Yeah, there's more than one medium or psychic that has said the grounds are more haunted than the house.
Right.
There's so much stuff going on outside that is just intense. So that's definitely a must-see. Now let's talk about Feartober, which is your event in the programming lineup. So we've talked about Shocktober, we've talked about Deathwalker, we've talked about the Conjuring House event. Let's talk about Feartober overall, what that entails.
Yeah, we have the JPR Experience, Missouri State Penitentiary, 2-hour special, premieres Monday, October 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern on VidiSpace. We have Haunted Roots documentary coming out October 31st, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we have new episodes from Sound Scary, my buddy Jimmy O and Ryan. They have a new episode coming out. It's amazing. And it's just really exciting, all this content we have coming out. And my good friends over at Ghost Finders, we have Rob and Megan and Dan Class, Sydney, Jim. We have Winchester Mystery House special coming out. And I was lucky enough to be a great part of that. And I helped collab and be there for putting it all together. We have Tarot Date with Ken Boggle, new episodes coming out. And also Buried Secrets Paranormal. My buddy over there, Nathan, he has his great episode coming out. And I'm probably missing a bunch of people because we have so many things coming out. Oh, and Audio Jack, live Audio Jack.
I'm so glad you said that. I was invited by Elizabeth to be on your session 7.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a minute just to talk about, because that's something totally different. That's an audio experience that drives storytelling. You want to talk about how you guys started doing that and how it's doing, because you're into like session 10 or above now, right?
Yeah, so Elizabeth collabed with David, who created Audio Jack, and it's so fascinating. I had the opportunity to do a couple of Audio Jack sessions where the experience was wonderful, so I just kept coming back. It's kind of like Total Recall. You just keep going back,
Yeah.
you know? So it was weird. Every time I did one, my imagination just kind of triggered so many different things. I haven't been more creative in that like hour just doing an Audio Jack session than doing anything else. It's hard sometimes when you sit down, you write or you storytell or edit, you kind of get distracted with all the noise and the excess world and stuff like that. But Audio Jack, it's like you tap in, you close your eyes, and you just listen to sounds that really tap into the subconscious, and it really just pulls out the creativeness in you. So Audio Jack was an amazing experience, and we're doing a Halloween special with Audio Jack, so it's going to be fun. Everyone can join. It's a really fun time. I think people really love the experience. It's been really well done.
Yeah, it's, my one time, you close your eyes, you listen to like an audio clip, then they play it a second time, and then you go. And there's always one weird sound effect in the middle of it that you don't expect. So you can't follow your traditional storytelling thing. There's always something that's a little bit different in the middle of the audio track. And it's always, you have a group of people that share their story ideas, and it's just cool how that hour went by amazingly fast when I was a guest. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool too, because we just have some big names coming on video and stuff. Like Kevin Smith is one of the guests coming up.
Clerks, right?
Yeah. So Kevin Smith on Sound Scary with Jimmy O and all them. So I'm just excited. It's going to be really cool. All this stuff for October. I think it's a huge lineup.
Gosh.
I'll be honest, I've been doing this for over a decade in the industry, and I've done great stuff with just lineups in October throughout the years, but I really think this is one of the good ones here that I've seen in a long time. So
yeah.
I'm like, this is actually pretty amazing.
It's super diverse. That whole streaming from a haunted house thing, it's kind of a new evolution of the paranormal, right? The Travel Channel, they just had people sending in clips of people captured on Paranormal. But what's happening now with events like yours is you're actually letting people into the haunted houses themselves to stream it for like 3 days or whatever, which is just brilliant. And I want to throw out, I saw on your Facebook page, there was a number, because there's so much that you threw out to people and for them to keep up with things. So do you mind if I share that number?
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Sure. I think it's 310-356-0174. That's 310-356-0174 for people who want to get text updates from you on what's kind of happening and what's going on, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we released a number. It's actually a real phone number that you can text, and we do reply to those texts. I was on there the other day replying to people, and it's a great way where we can have instant access to writing back and talking, and that will give us a way to send you all the updates that we're doing, and it'll be a lot quicker, so you don't have to like kind of scroll through the timelines of social media. Social media can be crazy sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool way. And I forgot to mention my buddies too. They have an unbelievable new special coming out. It's a live 1 hour special. My buddy Josh Hurd, Johnny Hauser, the Malvern Veliska Experiment. So it's going to be crazy with those two guys. I'm curious to see what they're going to come up with because they're doing this massive experiment between two locations.
Is that this month too, or?
Yeah, it's all coming out this month.
Oh my God.
Everything's coming.
Boy, November, you better come up with something good with November with all that's going on this month.
November, December, all we're just up in the game over here.
Yeah. Hey, well, after the election, we'll probably be all drained anyway, so this is good. What scares you the most? Ghosts, demons, cryptids, UFOs, black-eyed kids? I don't know. Because you've experienced UFOs, you've had ghosts and a lot of stuff. What freaks you out the most?
Yeah, I think people sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I think, it takes a lot to scare me, but I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been to some of the most sinister locations, crazy backstories and stuff like that. I've lived on them. I slept in morgues. I've been through tunnel systems. I've had weird experiences that I can't explain. And I'm a very logical thinker. And I just think that at this point in my life, I still get nervous. Negative energies at locations that affect my psyche and my body, that confuse me. I don't know. It's just weird to me. It kind of makes me a little nervous. I always refer back to the Exorcist film, even though we know that was kind of blown up for Hollywood, but it was portrayed for something really that happened. Obviously, that knowing something like that is a possibility, I guess. It kind of scares me a little bit, knowing that maybe a negative energy could overtake my own body and willpower to wreak havoc on my life. I don't know. That kind of makes me a little nervous. But I've always been intrigued by extraterrestrials in space and UFOs. I really want to see what else is out there with that. That's kind of how I got my involvement in all of this. As a young age, I wanted to go to Area 51. I listened to Art Bell on my little boombox, and I took a trip out to Rachel, Nevada to get as close as I could to Area 51. And I used to talk to my sister's godparents about their father building the hangars out there and just different things that was going on. And I'm always looking up at the stars, wondering what else is beyond our galaxy, what other planets, what other life form. And I think that really interests me more than anything is what's beyond what the scope that we see right now and what we can't comprehend, because we have one of the most powerful things in the world, our brain, but we don't use it to its full potential. So I'm really curious to know what is beyond than just this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned Nevada. You were born in California, but you were raised in New England. And then you spent some time in Nevada, I think, in your college years. And that's actually where you met Zach Baggins, which is kind of an interesting story, right? He was your DJ at your wedding. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I was married way back then, it was interesting because I found his website. It was like Vegas Voltage or something back then. And it was just interesting how we came about to know each other. And yeah, he was a wedding DJ. And basically I started talking about films and stuff, and he did. And I was putting together a bunch of projects and everything that I was working on back then. I knew Aaron for a long time. He snuck into one of my college classes. I was attending UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, God,
graduated
cool.
there. And
yeah.
That was the reason I moved to Las Vegas in 99. Graduated in 2004, met Aaron in like 2001, I think. And we were just working on tons of stuff together. And
what was your major? What were you majoring in?
Film.
Film.
So
Okay.
I graduated
cool.
with high honors in film. Yeah. And I don't know. I worked with my film instructor on a bunch of stuff. I made my first movie, Malevolence, in 2004. I went to Cinevegas Film Festival when Dennis Hopper was alive and running that. It actually screened next to the movie Napoleon Dynamite when no one even knew what that film was.
Awesome.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in the theater at the Palms Hotel there in Vegas, and everyone's like, "Oh, this movie's dumb." And I'm like, "This movie is genius."
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it became huge. It was awesome. But I was so excited about that film festival because. Not because my film got accepted and played there, but also it was one of the greatest lineups for that film festival that I've ever seen. David Lynch was there with Dennis Hopper, and they played Blue Velvet.
Oh my God!
They also played on the big screen Eraserhead.
Oh.
Like if no one's ever seen Eraserhead, that's like film at its finest back then. And listening to David Lynch talk, it was funny story. We got up because we had to leave because they were going over in their Q&A, and I really want to see Mike Takahashi's Gozu that just came out. It was screening next door in the next theater. And we're like, man, we're going to miss it. It was running like 10 minutes over. I'm like, all right, we got to get up and leave. And everyone's listening patiently. And my cousin Justin and I, we get up and we're leaving. We're walking out. And David Lynch goes, are we not interesting enough for you? Everyone just looked at us, and I was like, you know what? I respect that, and I take that as a compliment. And I was like, no, we were trying to hurry up and see Gozu, Miki Takahashi next door. And it was really funny. I was like, man, we just got called out by David Lynch.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that sounds like a crazy time having Zach Baggins be your DJ and then going to do that. How did you and Zach Baggins start up a conversation about ghosts at your wedding? Was it just kind of like, did it just, you took a break from dancing or something, or what? How did they just
No, it was nothing like that. Basically, so, long story short, that happened. I'm talking like months later. Basically, I said, I need someone else to shoot a second camera. And at the time, I was doing a ton of production work. I had my own camera and I was working for companies and I was shooting a bunch of wedding videos, and I actually hired him to shoot second camera and stuff for me. And I was putting all this stuff together, and I basically one day, I think it was around October 2004. I was sitting in my apartment and I was watching a special on the Sally House. The news reporter did that documentary that came out where the guy got scratched on camera. And I saw that. Yeah. And all my life, I've been fascinated with the ghosts, paranormal. My grandmother used to talk about it when I was a kid. I used to be really big into aliens, like I said, and UFOs. And I used to explore haunted locations through high school, and my cousin used to take me to monasteries and like huge, crazy areas in the woods and all this fog rolling through. We used to do that stuff all the time, exploring different places. So one day I was watching that Sally House special and I said, I want to go see if ghosts really exist. That was me back when I was 24 years old, and I said, you know what? I have a camera. I know how to push the red button on the camera. I have some mini DV tapes. I have no money, but I'm excited to get out there. I'll pick up another job at CompUSA, which I did, selling electronics. And then basically I call Zach up and I said, hey man, let's go look for ghosts. What do you think about it? And the thing is not a lot of people know that I actually took a spring break trip a couple years prior to doing this, calling him up. And I went up to all the locations. I went up to Virginia City, Nevada. I drove all the way up there. I checked out the town of Rachel. I went to Area 51 as close as I could get, obviously. Went to Tonopah, drove through Goldfield. And I just remember walking on the boardwalk saying, this is an amazing place. So years later, here we are. And I said, let's take a drive up to all these haunted mine towns and let's just film everything. I'm like, we're going to need one more camera. If it's like you and me, we're filming everything. Let's go out there and explore. He got really excited based on my passion, and he started telling me a story how he had an experience back in Michigan and stuff. And I said, cool, I got the perfect guy. He's funny. He's a good camera guy. He's great. A good friend of mine. And then that's how I introduced Aaron to him. And that was that. We got in his little Scion back then, and we drove up to all the haunted locations and just started filming everything. We had tons and tons of mini DV tapes back then. And it was weird. I started molding it together and I said, wow, there's something special here based on some of the evidence we got. And I didn't know what the heck we were doing, to be honest with you. I didn't even know what a documentary was back then, like putting one together or putting a narrative with a story. And I just started molding it and I started just driving it. And then my buddy who made my other film, he could, compose music. So I had him layer some weird music down to add to like all the elements. And I just started telling a story based around evidence that we collected that I thought was pretty incredible. And then the news got a hold of it. That happened. And I said, man, I want everybody to see this in the world. So I actually got one of those stupid Hollywood agency books back then. Remember those things?
Oh, like a directory of all the people. You should, you should charge an arm and a leg for that. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like no good, right? You pay like $40 and you're like, what the heck?
It's like a phone book of nobody that'll talk to you. Yeah.
So that was me. That was me 100 calls later. No joke. 100 calls later, I got really good at being like, hey, you got to check out this documentary. It's amazing. It's called Ghost Adventures, and this is what it is, and blah, blah, blah. And I go on until they would be like, all right, sounds good. Just send it to us from your agent or your lawyer. We can't take unsolicited material. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm calling you. I'm like, that's why I'm calling you. So I got hung up on, or I got told that. And, it was funny, but it was like, I'm just a passionate individual and I pretty much go the distance and try my best until like all fails, right? So I got that one person to be like, all right, just send it to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not sending it to you. I will drive it to you and I will put it in your DVD player and I will show it to you in person. So I convinced him and he allowed us. And that was just a weird situation. It was like Mulholland Drive. I drove there the next day. I had to convince Zach to go and all that stuff. And basically I came up with the name Ghost Adventures. I said, we need to call it Adventure, put the title on, said Ghost, and we call it Ghost Ventures. And basically showed someone else. That got to Sci-Fi, aired on Sci-Fi. We had some deal for 7 air days back in 2007, and it did like 1.2 million viewerships on like a Friday night. It was insane. And that's when like MySpace, internet was around. It just kind of blew up, went viral.
Yeah.
That kind of lingered to some contact he had, Zach did, and that got us this other, deal with travel. The rest is history. So, weird.
That's amazing. That's a very cool backstory. You mentioned Mulholland Drive, so that whole David Lynch thing comes full circle again.
Yeah, I
know. Your IMDb bio, which is very cool, by the way, mentions a couple of cool things about you. It says one thing, that you had some inexplicable experiences within your home and family in New England.
Yeah.
Anything you can talk about, or?
Yeah, when first marriage and stuff like that, when I was together way back then, our old house, I believe, was haunted, and I think it always goes back to like the Hinsdale house, some lingering stuff or whatever, but I still think it was just a bizarre scenario. I'm capturing some weird mist and some indication of like some of the evidence leading to some other location in England, Pontefract, 30 East Drive, and that kind of came full circle back to the Hinsdale. And here I am 5 years later, befriending Dan Class, one of my close friends, and helping the location. And we decided to dig in deep. I got the life book rights to Echoes of Ohio from Claire, and she's absolutely amazing. I became really close with her, talked to her at lengths, and we started putting together this epic cinematic documentary telling the true story of what's going on there. But we dug a little bit deeper, and we're going to be releasing that coming up in the beginning of the year. I think people are going to be blown away by what we discovered. I feel like it's groundbreaking. It's going to revolutionize the way we look at like paranormal investigation. Meaning, I feel like it's a true detective meets a real investigative paranormal genre, and we're going to flip it on its head. So I'm excited about it. I'm really pumped with all these passion projects, and it feels good to be independently doing it.
Yeah. Is it, now you mentioned this is the Hinsdale house in New York. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yep.
So can you give us a little backstory about that? Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not as famous as some of the places, but pretty well known in the paranormal field, haunted house. And was it your friend that bought that house recently or a while ago? Could you give us some backstory on that?
Yeah, so Justin actually researched it, and he found it and basically talked to the owner who was going to tear it down. And we convinced him to keep it for a month. And then that's when Dan happened to come along, Dan Class, and he purchased the house and took it from that previous owner. And then basically we were the first ones allowed to go there and investigate it for Paranormal Lockdown, which was our first episode there. And that's how we found that location. It's one of the most iconic locations at this point, 5 years later, as being one of the most haunted places in America. I would say in the world, to be honest with you. It's extremely fascinating, from UFO to cryptids to, anything within the ghost phenomena. It has everything there collectively in this radius on this property.
It's like a little Skinwalker Ranch or something, right? Is it just
totally? Yeah, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. I think it goes a little bit deeper. Like, I don't know. Native Americans been going up to the property for every 20 years, suppressing some sort of entity.
There's some vortex on these type of places like that. There's a couple places that it's weird. It's like the weird energy field or something. I don't know.
Right. It's very weird. It definitely has that. It has ley lines. It has this kind of energy about it. You feel it when you walk on the property. So many people have experienced stuff. And that's kind of what our new docuseries does. We pull back those layers, which we're going to release soon. But that's the cool thing about that location. And I feel the Conjuring house on Ron Top Road there, I think that it's familiar to me because of those reasons. Like, that location has rock formations out back. It has that ley line. It has that water running underneath. The location has an energy about it. It's the property. It's not just the house.
Yeah.
But it holds all that. I don't know, all these mysteries and weirdness, and it has UFO and ghosts and stuff.
It's also creepy in the basement, Nick, all those snake skins that you see shedded. Just like, what?
Those snakes are weird, too. You ever be out there in like spring when they're like coming out of the ground and stuff, the little snakes?
Yeah, you see a lot of skins shedded, snake skins shedded in the basement, and yeah, I would believe in the ground outside, coming out of the walls and then going into that big area in the back.
Yeah, it's a weird location. I don't know. I'm excited for the live. I think it's going to be incredible. All the great people coming together so we can kind of dig a little bit deeper, try to make contact with this entity that's there, and really just revisit the seance that took place in 1973. And here we are 47 years later, still fascinated with whatever is here. I mean, that's the weird part about this is like if time doesn't exist and we create this time, right?
Yeah.
Where we're born into this world, we go through this middle part and we die. But why are we still probing into the unknown? Because that's the mystery at some of these locations like this in Hinsdale, in the Conjuring, and so on. So I'm excited.
Yeah, the whole time thing blows my mind. If you think about it, in all of reality, the 14 plus billion years since the Big Bang, in all of time, you and I are talking right now, and it's mind blowing that would happen, that could be possible. It's so minuscule. It's that the probability that we'd be alive here talking right now in all of time, in all of space, and all of everything. It doesn't make sense. That's why I subscribe to the vinyl record thing. You drop a needle and that's where you're at, but there's more out there that you're not picking up.
Yeah, we'd be naive to think that we're the only life form just in general out there beyond the universes, the infinity of stars. And there has to be an ending to something. If we look out there and we say, wow, it's endless, billions of light years away, and so on and so forth, but we're discovering new universes that look like our universe, that looks like planets that have water, that possibly have life form. I mean, we know that for bacteria or whatever comes on comets and so on, and asteroids and whatever that we've discovered already, even probing around on Mars. Eventually, with enough technology to try to, I think, bend time. I think that's what a lot of the UFO experiences are too, is some of these man-operated drones that are robotically bleeping back into our atmosphere and then disappearing too. I think that's what we're experiencing a lot of the times. It's not just like, oh, there's aliens in that little spaceship. I think those are probably drones in the future, just time traveling back, and they figured it out, or we figured it out, or stuff has evolved. Who knows? It's like Interstellar.
Yeah.
Like that movie with Matthew McConaughey, Fifth Dimension.
There's a documentary coming out called The Phenomenon. Have you heard of that?
I haven't yet, no.
It's actually a documentary coming out like next month. It's got this mind-blowing real government stuff that's being brought out. Just like they had the Tic Tac UFOs with the Navy, I guess. There's this documentary coming out next month called The Phenomenon that's supposed to be addressing some of the stuff that was not disclosed before. So not on VideoSpace, unfortunately, but it is something to check out.
I want to see it.
Hey, I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions, if you don't mind. You had an experience, first of all, you had a near-death experience at one point. Do you mind telling us about that and how that affected your belief system at the time?
I was age 8. I was waiting for my sister to get out of swimming. My mom was reading her book about 100 yards away from me. And I was that hyperactive kid, decided to climb a tree for some weird reason. Kind of dumb. Now I look at it. And I reached out to the branch, and the branch broke. And I realized I was underneath a cyclone fence with those wires sticking straight up, and it shredded my left arm to the bone.
Oh, God.
I hit the ground, and I stood up from being in shock. And I said, Mom, I love you. And she looks up as I collapse to the ground. I black out. Now, what I recall is my eyes opening and seeing all these faces looking down at me, huddled around me, just close together, staring down at me. And then I closed my eyes again. And then suddenly I was in the ambulance, and then I went into shock again. Then I was in the hospital and saw my sister crying with my dad. And I looked over, and they're repairing my left arm, like 100 stitches, like 10 shots. And it was insane. The doctor said I pretty much had a near-death experience, half inch off my artery. And if it wasn't for my mom's quick thinking, from her being, working in the nurse and all that stuff back in the day, I would have died pretty much because I was bleeding out. It was so close to losing all that. So what's strange is years later, once I started diving really deep into the paranormal, I asked my mom, I was like, I still recall like all these faces looking down at me. And she's like, that never happened. There wasn't faces looking at you. She said, I picked you up. My mom instincts went into motion, like how a mom picks a car up. I was a big kid too back then. I was a swimmer. So she's just like short little Italian lady, and she's the most amazing person in the world. And she just like literally ripped her shirt off, tied my arm up. And she's like, I could see the bone, everything hanging out. And I just I went into crazy mom mode and ran me inside. And she's like, there was only like 2 of us or 3 of us. And I was scrambling to call the police. And one person was talking to you while you were like blacked out. And that's kind of what happened. So I don't know. I mean, was that an experience that I had from maybe relatives or people or crossing over? I really don't know, but it's really stuck with me. And a couple of years later, I had a weird experience after that where things felt different. I remember walking up into my house before my mom got home from school, and I saw the shadow man just standing in the we had this like dining room. When I go in the kitchen, turn the corner in this dining room, there's this sliding glass door and there's this like shadow man standing there. It scared the crap out of me. I ran out of the house into my neighbor's yard, and then a couple of minutes later, my mom drove up and I went in and I was looking everywhere. I didn't know if it was somebody trying to break in. I didn't know if what I experienced was something legit or was it me being scared, my imagination or whatever. And those are the things that stuck with me, you know, until 2009. When I was at Linda Vista Hospital in East LA, and
I was going to ask you about that. That's a good lead in because I was going to ask about when you got older, your most significant event. Cool, that's the lead in.
Yeah, and this is what happened. I mean, all these things kind of paved the way for me to, I don't know, just grow through these experiences, evolve as a human being, but like try to understand it better. And I've always been, I don't know, sensitive to energies and certain things, and empathic to people's like, I don't know, auras or whatever you want to call it. And I just kind of went through life like that, kind of not knowing, not aware as much, an antenna on a TV trying to tune in that picture. It's what I felt like a lot of the times. And I started to understand it more and more, investigate, and more I started tapping into different stuff and validating it through like digital recorders and equipment and stuff. But it wasn't until Linda Vista Hospital that I had one of the most profound experiences. I was standing there. The trauma center room was to my left. The two guys were filming me, and I turned and I looked, and there was a woman standing 2 feet in front of my face wearing a hospital gown that had little flower patterns on it. Her face was white, short, this kind of like, I don't know, this weird black hair drooping down, and she was like reaching out to me, and it scared me. I mean, like I jumped back. I thought it was somebody snuck in. I didn't know what was happening, and I jumped back. And what was strange is all the audio evidence we were getting with this female voice coming through at the similar time that happened. And plus it demagnetized time for us on the digital mini DV tapes and the cameras. So we lost time on our camera where you see me jump back, frozen in time. All of a sudden I'm in the hallway it picks up from. Like, it's weird. Like, there's no blackout moment. It just happens. Like, it glitches. And like, that's bizarre to me. I've never seen that happen with like mini DV tapes or whatever. Kind of like demagnetizing. That experience right there, I think, was so profound and so real. I knew what I saw. I knew I wasn't like my eyes playing tricks on me. I knew it was legit. That made me more obsessed with understanding how can a human form that's solid that I can be aware of, and that person or entity or whatever manifested can see me and I can see her in that split second before obviously I got scared. I wish I would have held my ground, but I'm telling you, anybody that's in darkness in a hospital at 4 a.m. in the morning, look to your left, look back, look to your left, and there's someone there, you're going to jump. I don't care who you are.
Oh, God, yeah.
So
what was it like physically seeing a ghost? I mean, you're there face to face. This thing recognized you. It's a full body apparition. It's not like a little orb or anything. How did it feel physically? Was your heart racing? Was there a chill? Were you just kind of in shock or disbelief? How did you feel when that happened?
It was like Scooby-Doo, where the hair goes white and you freak out and you're just saying every word in the book, dictionary, and you just, I don't know. It was like a weird moment. My heart was racing. I jumped. I got super scared. I mean, you see my reaction. It's priceless. I kind of laugh at it now, years later. But it was like one of those moments that it's just like super genuine, it happened. And I don't know. It just felt like a shock wave hit me. And I was like so startled. Like I just skied down Mount Everest or something wild.
Yeah. Do you want it to happen again? Would you want that, or do you?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I even went back. So what was interesting about that experience is I became kind of like obsessed. So I had a sketch artist draw what I saw, and then I put it out there onto the internet. And then a lady reached out to me who used to be a nurse that worked there in the 1980s at Linda Vista Hospital, and she said that they would see the similar spirit, the similar lady walking in that trauma center when it was in operation with the doctors working on patients, and they would tell her, please, you got to leave. You can't be in here. And she'd disappear. That validated it for me.
Yeah.
So we went back there, tried different things, but I didn't see her the second time I went back. And then I wanted to go back recently within the last 5 years, but now they've turned it in. They stopped people from doing that, and they turned it into a place for older folk to go and live out their lives, which is kind of strange. So
Yeah, kind of odd. Yeah, yeah. God. So let's end on a little different note. You are a guy that does so many different things. You have a lot of passion, not just for the paranormal, but you also were a singer, a music producer, and you talked about being that little boy that shouldn't have climbed a tree. It seems like you never learned your lesson because in 2015, weren't you in the American Ninja competition or something?
yeah, no, I mean, that's where all the thrills come from, the venture and stuff. Yeah, I'm that crazy guy who goes into morgue slabs and through cave systems and whatever I have to do to go exploring. But yeah, I just have a passion for the athletics too. You know, I try to balance my life with all this craziness to stay healthy and fit at the same time. So I was selected to be on American Ninja Warrior years ago and was on that and ran the course, and it was fun. And then I also created another ongoing series with Mike Couch from Lost Limbs Foundation called The Unlimited Journey, which is on VidiSpace right now. In the first episode that we did, we climbed Mount Washington. Mike was amazing, and we raised a lot of money for children in need of prosthetics. And Lost
great.
Limbs is a great foundation. And then the second episode, we brought Johnny Hauser in, and we ran the Spartan Beast, which was 14 miles and 30 obstacles. It was freezing cold rain. It was like the most intense thing I've ever done in my life. So both of those episodes you can watch. It's for a great cause for kids. Support Lost Limbs Foundation, and I love doing it. It gives me a challenge. I need like those challenges so I can keep hitting it hard in the gym or keep balance with nutrition and fit, because when you travel, you go to these locations, I'm telling you, it like wears you down psychologically. You're just like rattled in the head from all this stuff and the traveling, the airplanes, the cars, and living at these locations or going through these bad environments. Forget the ghosts and the paranormal for a second. It's these environments are really terrible sometimes. So I think a lot of that, you have to stay healthy and fit so you can still maintain yourself as you get a little bit older and stuff. And man, I just love a challenge. We're going to do this challenge next. We were supposed to this spring do a third episode of Unlimited Journey where we swim across a 2-mile lake and climb this mountain in New Hampshire. But obviously we had to stop that because of the crazy world we're living in right now. But soon we're going to pick that up in the spring coming up.
Well, good for you. I just, there's so much even on this episode. We're at an hour and there's just so much packed into it. Let's just end and just remind us again, a couple places where they can go. One, for the Conjuring, the Seance Revisited. Is there a website they go to buy tickets for that?
Yeah, right now on my social media, on Instagram, there's a link up in my bio. On Facebook, there's also links. It's up there right now, and you can click on that link. It's a Seance Revisited, the farm on Round Top Road. It's the house that inspired the Conjuring film. October 29th to November 1st, live streaming 24/7. October 30th, you're going to see myself and some amazing guests come in and investigate this location and do a seance just like Ed and Lorraine Warren did 47 years earlier. So we're excited about this. I think it's going to be a huge event. Anybody in the world can watch it, stream it, be a part of it, share it, and spread the word. And also Deathwalker. It launches Halloween Day in America. And stay tuned for your country. It's coming to you internationally very soon. And we'll be making those announcements. But everything's on my social media pages. And yeah, we're excited.
So you look for Nick Groff, Groff, on Facebook. You're pretty much the first guy that'll come up, and also on Instagram. What about VidiSpace? Is it vidi.space or vidispace.com? What's the URL for that?
Yeah, VIDI.SPACE. And you can go up there, and there's a great promotion code and everything going on right now.
So Feartober, right? Feartober, you get 50% off. So take advantage of it. Cool.
And that's the place where we're at.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much, Nick. It was great talking to you. I know you have a lot going on every day, and especially this month. So I look forward to watching all this great stuff that you have, the programming. And I want to personally thank you and Elizabeth and your cousin for taking my documentary and put it on VidiSpace. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad to be part of your programming.
Always. And thank you so much for all the support. And much love to everybody out there and positive vibes. And I love your documentary, man. I really do. I think you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what else you do. So thank you.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here?
Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit AfraidOfNothingPodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's AfraidOfNothingPodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout-out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.